Hello. How is everyone? It's been kind of a long week. But the week's almost over. Sorry if you can hear the neighbor's dog barking. They've been barking for the last 20 minutes. Next week is Halloween. I am definitely gonna try to stream on Tuesday. We'll try to make it a little longer too. What else? I don't think there's really anything else that needs to be talked about. I do have stuff that needs to be done today after stream, so I guess we'll just jump right in. Okay, turn the music on this time. Okay, continue. We want to try this new person first. Oh, a teacher it looks like. This was the last simulation exam that I would be in charge of this year. And Keo, the real one, would be coming up next for my students. I unintentionally let out a sigh upon realizing this. The most stressful time of being a head teacher was the senior year. Time was always tight and the job was difficult. To make things worse, I still had to watch over these pubescent and rebellious teenagers. Some of them might be over 18, but mentally they are all still just kids. Back in my school days, I had only heard about so-called young love and had barely seen any student couples. Nowadays, student couples weren't even something worth mentioning. Love triangles, gay relationships, teacher-student relationships, all kinds of stuff can happen nowadays. Well, I suppose I was already too old to understand kids these days. All I could wish for right now was for them to graduate as planned and to leave me a decent graduation rate. I needed to... Sorry. Okay. I needed to go and take a good vacation after the exam. The exams had been handed out and everyone was ready to begin. The bell rang. I walked around the classroom and sat back in the chair next to the lectern. I have been having trouble standing for too long these days. Maybe I had been too tired, or it was just a natural part of getting older. The room felt stuffy. The cicadas outside the window were very noisy. I looked outside the window, lost in my thoughts. Somebody coughed loudly. My mind was pulled back. Lee looked a little nervous and her eyes were drifting all over the place. Very few students ever realized how good the view was from up here. I didn't go towards her directly. Instead, I walked out of the classroom and circled back behind her through the door in the back of the room. I realized she was copying Jimmy's answers. I left a note. I told Lee to come and meet me in the tutoring room after school. I intended to talk to her about her cheating. I had no intentions of reporting it to the school. I had been teaching her since freshman year in middle school. She had been through a lot, so I had always looked out for her. While her grades were never the best, her character was beyond reproach. She was not that kind of student. She hadn't arrived yet. I stood in front of the window watching the clouds gather over the track field. It might rain tonight. I remembered the last time I had seen W. It had been raining that evening. He had asked me to meet him in a coffee shop. He told me that he had gotten cancer and might not have much longer to live. He decided to resign from the school and leave Beijing, maybe even leave the country, at least for a while. He asked me to keep it a secret and, if possible, to take care of all the relevant matters when he was gone. I didn't know what to say, so I just asked him what he was going to do. I also contacted a doctor I knew and asked him if there were any other feasible treatment plans. Later, he told me he had other things to take care of and said goodbye. I watched quietly as he walked away. As soon as he walked out of the coffee shop, I buried my head on the table and cried. I had always been so self-righteous and self-centered. I wanted to think of and do everything for him, yet I had never thought about or asked him what he would have wanted me to do. That must be why I had to watch him leave over and over again. When we had been kids, our families lived next to each other. We had known each other for as long as I could remember. He was always playing alone in kindergarten. He was never bullied or isolated or anything like that. He was just too smart and too different compared to the other kids his age. We had gone to the same elementary school, same high school, and same college. No matter where we were always the best he was always the best at what he did. And I had always been so proud to be his best friend. We would call each other by just one letter as our nickname. He was W, I was Y. After we had graduated from college, I went to study abroad and I started working. I really wanted to go with him, but I didn't feel like we were close enough to broach this idea. So we parted ways, and we began to lose touch once he met his girlfriend abroad. It was many years later when we finally met again. He had lost his fiancée, and his spirit had gone with her. His life had become a mess. I nervously suggested he come teach at my school. When he finally agreed to come, I was so happy. Something blossomed again in my heart. However, nothing more happened between us. We could be childhood friends who could talk about almost anything with each other, but we could never become more than friends. I never had the courage to tell him how I really felt or how I always felt. I was afraid that if I ever did, it would have cost us our current relationship. I just wanted to stay beside him, talk to him, laugh with him. Years had gone by. That 3-word spell that I had hidden inside my heart kept getting buried deeper and deeper. But it had never lost its power. It was just getting harder and harder for me to speak those words out loud. I felt myself slowly turning into an utter fool, but I couldn't help myself. Lee had finally come. I didn't ask her the reason for cheating, I just told her to come to the group study session. No matter why she had cheated, the study session could only help. But I suddenly realized I was being my usual self again. I was making decisions for her without asking her about it. I could have simply asked her to tell me why she had cheated. I suppose I just couldn't change myself, right? After being hospitalized for gastrics, I learned from Mr. Wong that he never blamed me for the photo incident. He and I were able to go back to how things were, like nothing had happened. Occasionally, some fools in the school would still gossip about us, but I had learned to stop caring and pretend not to hear them at all. At KO kept getting closer and closer. Everyone, including those gossiping idiots, had to focus on the exam. Even my life had turned into a constant migraine between classroom and home. I barely went to the tennis court anymore. Before we knew it, the final simulation exam was upon us. A sense of anxiety filled the entire school. Rumors had it that if anybody screwed up the simulation exam, he or she would be required to stay in school for an intensive study session until 2 days before KO. It was lunch break. Everyone was sitting in their own seats trying to study for one last time. My phone suddenly buzzed. A text from Jing. Breaking news. Mr. Won resigned last week. Sob. I couldn't believe my eyes and turned around to look at her. She made a sad face. How could it be? The art class had been cancelled for the last 2 weeks. I had also been hitting the book, so I didn't realize that I indeed hadn't seen him for a while until just now. When I went to my balcony, the lights had always been off in his apartment. I thought he was simply going to bed early. The exam began in the afternoon. I looked at the paper in my hands, but all I could see was random gibberish that was jumping all over the place. All I could think about was Mr. Won's resignation. Jimmy was really going at it. Half of his papers were hanging off the side of his desk. As a thought that had never occurred to me appeared in my head. Should I just copy it? But I had never cheated in my entire life. But if I didn't, I would have to stay in detention for extra study sessions after school. I didn't want to stay. I just wanted to go back home as soon as I could. I took a peek at Miss Yang. She seemed to be lost in her own thoughts. I made up my mind and decided to copy Jimmy's answers. I never knew that Jimmy was such a genius. No one had paid much attention to him. I was writing down all of his answers when I felt a tap on my shoulder. Oh no, I had been caught. A note had been left on my desk asking me to go to the tutoring room after school. After school, Miss Yang met me in the tutoring room. She said nothing about the cheating. She only asked me to stay for the study sessions. During the session, I kept staring at my phone, hoping that he would respond to my messages. Nothing. It was 11 p.m. when I got home. I knocked on his door softly. No response. I went to check his balcony. The lights were still off. I sat on the floor with my back against the door, thinking I would be able to hear him if he came back in the middle of the night. 1 a.m., 2 a.m. It was beginning to rain outside the window. 3 a.m., 4 a.m. It was also morning. What should I do if I still couldn't find him tomorrow? I suddenly had a bad feeling. Would I never be able to see him again? Give me a sec. You have to come in or out. You can't just scratch at the door. Well, I guess I can leave the door open for you. Okay, let us try this. Why would he resign? Did he not like this job, or was it because of... My mind was drifting further and further away. The ending bell for the exam pulled me back to reality. I couldn't even look at myself when I turned in the paper. I had only solved 2 problems. I left a note. After school, Miss Yang came into the tutoring room as expected. Anything I can help with? Well, Miss Yang, do you know why Mr. Wan resigned? Miss Yang gave me a look. I thought you were about to ask me about your grades this time. Take a look at your own paper. I picked it up. It was a disaster. I honestly don't know what was going through your kids' minds these days. Miss Yang gave me a quiet tongue lashing. This sucked. I looked at Lee, who was sitting by the window. She seemed to be staring at the test blankly. Was it really so hard? A note had been left on my desk asking me to go to the tutoring room after school. After school, I came to the tutoring room as Lee had asked. I knew many senior students were going through a lot of pressure, but there were probably less than 10 students who would be willing to talk to their students about or their teachers about it. Nevertheless, I was thrilled that Lee had come looking for me. However, she was not here to discuss the pressure of the exam or going to college. Instead, she asked me about W's abrupt resignation. I was a little unprepared, but I still remembered my promise to him. I cleared my thoughts, took her test from today, and showed it to her. I had to let her know that Gaokeo was upon us and was the only thing that mattered right now. She should not be thinking about anything else, definitely not that. Her face turned red and white and red again. I could still feel the awkwardness in the air after she left the room. I knew I might be breaking her heart, but I had to do it. W would have done the same. I looked at Lee, who was sitting by the window. She was looking back at me too. She should be focusing on her test. I shook my head and signaled to her to get back to the test. She lowered her head. Half an hour later, the exam was over. A note had been left on my desk asking me to go to the tutoring room after school. After school, I came to the tutoring room as Lee had asked. I knew many senior students were going through a lot of pressure, but there were probably less than 10 students who were willing to talk to their teachers about it. Nevertheless, I was thrilled that Lee had come looking for me. However, she was not here to discuss the pressure of the exam going to college. I was a little unprepared, but I still remembered my promise to him. I made up something on the spot, telling him that he had gone traveling abroad. Her eyes lit up when she heard my lie. She asked me a few other questions about the homework before she eventually left. She was very polite and nice the whole time, but the moment she closed the door, I saw her turn around and ran away so fast that her hair was flying behind her. And then I saw her from the window running out of the school like an innocent and joyful little deer. For a moment, I thought I had seen my younger self. I took a peek at Miss Yang, and she was staring right back at me. I was so startled I almost jumped, and suddenly I could understand the questions on the exam again. Thank goodness. However, I needed to finish the exam first before worrying about anything else. If I screwed this up, I wouldn't be going anywhere after school. I left a note after school. Miss Yang came into the tutoring room as expected. Anything I can help with? Well, Miss Yang, do you know why Mr. Wan resigned? Miss Yang gave me a look. Oh, him. He said he wanted to go and travel abroad for a little while. He said he would come back in a month. He was traveling abroad for a month? Yeah, Kyo would be over by then. I was still hoping I could ask him for his advice on what colleges to apply to, although as long as I could still see him, it would be okay. Meanwhile, I had to work hard for that one last exam. There we go. Oh, she's cute. Kinda odd that we're done with her already. Okay. We'll do Lee's story first. I think she's almost done. 3 years had gone by since I graduated from high school. College wasn't what I expected it to be. In my imagination, college was supposed to be a place where ambitions and hopeful young people could better themselves before they entered the real world. In reality, it was more like an amusement park. Most people never thought about their future. The professors barely cared whether anybody was even listening to their lectures. Rather than teaching the students, they usually cared more about how much funding they could get from their own private projects. Even the library didn't have many good books. Instead, it was more of a hot spot for young couples to make out. I no longer even went to campus anymore. I might as well not even study at home. My friends were all super cool. Every few days, they would host a party at my place. We did karaoke, cooked hot pot, and called for fried chicken deliveries. My room was always filled with the smell of cigarettes and beer. A life like this had made me lose the concept of time. It only helped with alleviating my feelings of loneliness. I lay down on my couch and slowly fell asleep. These days, I had been sleeping on the couch more often than my bed. Mr. Wan walked up to the couch and gently took my hand. I opened my eyes. I didn't go to campus today either. After graduating from high school, I never saw Mr. Wan again. I would often imagine that he would suddenly appear by my side, just like the day of the art exhibition. He would always show up in my dreams sometimes. Oh, he would even show up in my dreams sometimes, but he never did show up for real. Every time I asked Miss Yang about him, she would always stop herself before saying a word. I stopped asking after a while. I knew I would probably never know where Mr. Wan was, but I hoped he was doing great, because the early summer that we had spent together would always be the best season of my life. I rubbed my eyes. It was Miss Yang, not him. I must not be totally awake. I climbed off the couch, went to the kitchen, and helped Miss Yang with dinner. I was a repeating senior student this year. Because of a stomach ache, I had to miss one of the exams during Gaokeo. I was going to give up on going to college altogether, but Miss Yang spent a long time convincing me to give it another try. Concerned about being alone again, Miss Yang moved in next door to help take care of me. She was living in the apartment that Mr. Wan used to live in. After Gaokeo, Mr. Wan had vanished from my life entirely. I would often imagine that if I started to give up on myself, maybe he would come back into my life to stop me from ruining my life. I would be willing to wait for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, even longer, as long as he would come back. I had been thinking about this so much that I even dreamt about it all the time. In the end, he was probably just a passerby in my life. Look, there's a tennis match. Miss Yang put the remote down. It was the 4D gate open. One of the finalists was a Chinese player. Father used to like him a lot. He would always watch his matches. Not only was he a tennis genius, he was also incredibly popular on the internet. He was young and handsome, came from a rich family, and had a professional team handling his business off the court. Besides the astronomical prize money from his matches, his sponsors were even more lucrative. Every time he went onto a talk show with his beautiful female assistant, he would receive more than tens of thousands in payment. Lots of people were always posting about him online. They adored him like he was a pop idol. Miss Yang kept staring at the TV while pouring some soy sauce on her noodles. Since you like tennis so much, have you ever thought about going into a career that has something to do with it? My chopstick stopped for a moment. Maybe. I climbed off the couch and turned on the TV. I handed Mr. Wan a can of beer and got one myself. The evening news was on. It was about the wedding ceremony of a tennis player that was incredibly popular for a while now. A few days ago, he had just announced that he was retiring from tennis. He also announced that he was getting married to a longtime female assistant who used to be a tennis player too. I was quite shocked when I saw the name of his fiancée on the TV screen. Quinn? That couldn't be a coincidence. Ever since I was old enough to remember, I had never seen my mother. Father had only mentioned her once, but I had never ever forgotten her name. I had always thought that tennis was just a hobby that from when Father was younger. He watched the games all the time, and he also had a yellow racket in storage. Under his influence, I started practicing tennis too, and the yellow racket was the first one I had ever used. Now that I thought about it, the only matches Father ever watched had all the same person in them. He wasn't watching the game, he was only watching Mother, and the racket must have belonged to her too. I chugged the beer and looked at Mr. One, who was supposed to be sitting at the table, except there was no one but me at the table. The beer can I had handed over was just sitting there. The hot pot in front of me was filled with overcooked vegetables and meatballs. The trash can nearby was stuffed with my yellow tennis racket and several bags of fried chicken that I had not even taken a bite of. I hunched over the table and bursted out crying. We just got an achievement. I don't remember what the order was from the start. I had another dream. I climbed off the couch. I changed into my exercise clothes, picked up my racket, and headed out. I was a repeating senior student this year. Because of a stomach ache, I had missed out on the exams during Gaokeo. I was going to give up on going to college altogether, but Miss Yang spent a long time convincing me to give it another try. The light over the tennis court was maintained by some of the residents themselves. The dim light bulb kept making a buzzing noise. 1, 2, 3. I had just hit all 30 of the balls that I had, so I picked up the now empty basket. I walked to the other side of the court and collected the balls before hitting them again. No one else was on the tennis court. All I could hear was the sound of the ball hitting my racket and then bouncing off the ground. God, why do you keep toying with me? Why can't you just let me go? No. Nightmares. Another nightmare. What is going on with me? I'll go downstairs and get some air. Willie must still be asleep. His door isn't locked. Come to think of it, I have never even seen his room. Well, I'm going in. He's not here. This room looks quite different from mine. It's pretty cool. This red thing, it's called a guitar, I think. Does he know how to play the guitar? I sat down in front of the desk. A picture inside the metal frame caught my attention. This photo. There were 2 people and a dog in it. The person on the right looked a lot like myself. It's a cute picture. And the dog, it looked like Willie, although it was a little smaller. I couldn't see the face of the person on the left very clearly for some reason. Nevertheless, it looked like a boy. I feel like I've seen him somewhere. I think I've seen him before. As I was scouring my memories for the face of this boy, I felt an electric shock had suddenly pierced my brain. Then everything turned white in front of my eyes. Look, Fluffy knows how to count. The die shows 4 and he barks 4 times. Woof, 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 woof. It's just counting. What's so special about that? Fluffy, go get my slippers. Woof, woof. Look how smart my Fluffy is. You're so lazy that you won't even get your own slippers. Fluffy, go get my snacks. Woof, woof. Are you telling your dog to get you your snacks? Do you have a hole in your head? Fine, I'll go get them for you. Here they are. Did you eat some? Who would want to eat your oathmansive cake? I hate that stuff. Then why are there only 4 pieces when there were 5 earlier? It must have been Fluffy. See, there's something incriminating. There's some incriminating dog hair right there. Don't you fling Fluffy? Fluffy wouldn't do it. And you know what I just noticed? I saw you touch your head just now. You always do that when you're lying. I'm on to you. What, do you trust Fluffy more than me? So, I like Fluffy. As long as I have Fluffy, I don't care about you at all. Wow, that is... That's very harsh. Idiot, Fluffy wouldn't be with you forever. A dog's life is much shorter than ours. I, on the other hand, might actually be by your side until the end. You're lying to me again. Fluffy, you're going to stay with me forever, right? Woof woof. Wake up, wake up. Why did you fall asleep in my room? Did I fall asleep? What happened to you? Are you not feeling well? I don't know why, but I suddenly want to bawl my heart out. I don't want to read these letters anymore. When I realized the humans have all been doomed to their horrible fates because of me, I just couldn't. Fine, I understand, huh? Even though I couldn't say anything, Willie seemed to know exactly what was bothering me. It's okay, don't cry, you've done a great job. I meant it. I'm the one who had been acting horribly. But don't worry, you won't remember any of this soon. Bye. My head hurts. Where am I? What happened? You finally woke up. I've been waiting for so long. I was beginning to worry that you might never wake up. It's a talking dog. Are you... He's erasing our memories. My neighbor's dog, Fluffy? Good, looks like she's forgotten everything. How did you come up with a lousy name like Fluffy? Besides, we don't even have neighbors. But I still think he looks like a Fluffy. Wait, what did he mean by no neighbors? Have you lost your memories? Lost my memories. Wait, did I fall down the stairs and then hit my head? For some reason, I seem to remember losing my memories before. Does that even make sense? Cough, cough. Well, maybe you are a little confused after hitting your head. People sometimes think they remember some weird stuff after memory loss. Let me tell you my name first. My name is Will. Sometimes I go by Willie. Willie? Yes, Willie. Willy Wonka? Never mind. You don't need to know my name anyway. You may just refer to me as your master. Master? Why is my dog my master? I'm not a dog. We are gods. How do you know what I was thinking just now? Wait, did you just say that we are gods? As gods, it is our job to change the fate of the humans who ask us for help. Humans encounter all kinds of nonsense in their lives. Sometimes they pray to us, desperately hoping for some kind of miracle, as they call it. I could help them, or I could just toy with them for fun. Whatever I do is up to me. Wait. Stop babbling so fast. I don't understand what you're saying at all. I'm not babbling. You're just too slow. Never mind. You don't need to know too much about this either. All you need to be concerned about is preparing snacks for me every day. The room downstairs next to the staircase is mine. Remember to put the snacks on the desk every time you bring them in. If I'm asleep, unless there's something extremely important, do not wake me up. What do you mean by extremely important? If I forget to bake the snacks, should I wake you? Well, don't bother me for something like that, obviously. Then again, why would you wake me up if there were no snacks? Well, let me think. For instance, if it stops snowing, then you should wake me up. That might never happen, though. Okay, got it. Well, you just woke up after having passed out, so you should get some more rest. Just stay in bed today. I need to get to work now. Wait, I still don't know what my own name is. Why did you leave in such a hurry? I really can't remember much else. How did I lose my memories? Oh well, I'll take it from here. She's quite compulsive. She has given every letter an S ending. However, are these S endings really the perfect endings? So-called perfect endings even exist in this world? Like here. Looks like it's getting a good grade it looks like getting a good grade is a decent ending. However, we would never hear from Juan again afterwards. I'm afraid Juan has... Could there be other possibilities between her and Miss Yang? Humans are so annoying. Maybe I should try some other possibilities. In the future, I will enter the ending selection mode by selecting the brown button on the right that has many branches. Then I may switch between my previous decisions at will. Maybe I can discover some new possibilities this way, especially when letters from the same person are somehow not in a straight line. I should pay extra attention in these cases. However, not all the new possibilities can be discovered so easily. Some of them might be hidden really well. Some imagination might be necessary to uncover these hidden secrets. Okay. Let me just move out. There. Now we can see it better. Okay, so it looks like we need to do Alicia's story to unlock Carlos again. We'll do Alicia and then figure out what this ending change is about. Zuko had an exclusive and secretive business app for himself. Returning guests and people who had a referral would contact him directly on the app instead of texting some ridiculous Morse code to the number on his card. He was good. Even if the targets had somehow learned that Zuko was after them, they would never be able to guess how they would be eliminated, nor when or where it would happen. He was like a magician. Business was good, but he always referred most of his jobs to his associates. He rarely got his own hands dirty, and he never asked for a cut of the proceedings. He told me that he wasn't doing this for money, but for information. Occasionally, he would bring up some story from the days when he had been working for Ray. A lot of them reminded me of my old days. He'd eventually made so many enemies as well, and had struggled for a while after leaving Ray. Once he was already too deep into the assassin for pay business, he realized that he had to give it his all to survive. He had also learned that information is more important than your kill count. Thanks to his connections, I was able to identify the people who had been after me. They were exactly who I thought they would be, yet it was precisely pointless at this point. Right now, my head was worth quite a fortune. If I ever showed up on the streets without a disguise, someone would be gunning for me in no time. I had to move to a new place every 3 months. All the locations were scouted in advance for me by Zuko. He was the only one who always knew where I lived. Currently, my hiding place was at Pitt Street 96. Funny enough, it was only 20 meters away from Pitt Street 99, the home base of the Black Dragon Gang. Once I had even spotted Ray from the window. I heard that he had become the new big boss of the gang. Zuko not only helped by covering my tracks, he would also take care of me when something went wrong. Like today, I was lying in my bed with bandages on my legs and an ice bag on my head. Zuko put a bowl of hot porridge on the nightstand. I could smell a hint of overcooked rice. Then he sank onto the couch and began to peruse the 3-month-old adult magazine that he had brought over. 4 days ago, he gave me 3 big envelopes. He wasn't the kind of person who would lecture me about justice, but he had his moral preferences, and he would put his preferred targets on the top of the pile. The first target was a greedy boss who had been stiffing his workers for 3 years. The second target was a paralyzed rich man who had been depending on his children. The third target was a boss of the newest gang recently established in the Bay Road area. I picked the last one, and I got into an epic battle which had led to this. Don't get me wrong, I had never been some kind of vigilante assassin who had the moral high ground either. I had no right to be, nor did I want to. I was merely someone who had no family, no friends, and no reason to live, and being on the edge of life and death was the only thing that could still make me feel alive. I tasted the porridge and fell asleep again. Ring, ring. I seemed to have heard the doorbell ringing, and then I heard the door open and then close. It seemed to be a delivery package. Who sent me a package? I sprinted from my bed and yelled out Zuko's name. There was no response. I walked to the door of my arsenal. Every time I moved, I would turn the smallest room into a mini arsenal, enhancing it with a security door with a key padlock. Since I was moving in a few days, I had already packed all of my weapons and ammo. There was supposed to be nothing inside the room, but I saw an open delivery box just inside the security door. I entered the passcode. I didn't notice there was someone behind me. Someone grabbed my neck from behind and choked me. I raised my left hand and stabbed my finger towards the throat of my attacker. He did a backflip and got away from me, landed precisely on the window ledge. His lower baseball cap covered most of his face, so I could only tell it was a slim-fit young man. You are indeed as good as they say. No matter, my mission is done anyway. See you never. The weird-sounding boy left me with this final word, jumping off the ledge and disappearing. I had more important matters at hand than going after him. I went back to the security door. It wasn't open, even though I had entered the passcode. The only explanation was that Zuko had locked the door from the inside. He must be still in there. Why would he do that? Boom. An enormous force blew the door off its hinges, twisted it, and tore it into a million burning pieces that went flying towards me. Zuko was flying in the air along with all the debris. His neck was bent in an inconceivable angle due to the explosion. When I finally woke up in the ICU, I realized that my left arm and both my legs were gone. I knew that I probably didn't have much time left, yet the doctor still bluntly told me other pieces of news. The man that had been found at the scene with me was already dead when the ambulance arrived. Strangely enough, when the doctor said, "I'm sorry for your loss," I wasn't really feeling too much loss. I sat in my seat opposite the bathroom. The office felt empty. Officer Yin was still in the hospital. Lieutenant Kang was sent to the detention center. I couldn't find out where. And Officer Mingyun, I would never be able to see him again. So I was the only one left in Unit 4. Officer Mingyun had been murdered. This case had been turned over to the Superior Investigations Unit, with Unit 3 assisting. Yesterday, people from Unit 3 had come over and taken everything that belonged to Lieutenant King. Fortunately, I had been prepared in advance. I had made copies of some of Lieutenant King's case files and reports. I had also kept the red file with files on Unit 2. The files and reports were mostly about the cases that Unit 4 had solved, nothing too important in there. Although I did read a lot of familiar words in his reports, my words, I finally understood why he had always told me to write longer reports. He probably had not just copied my reports. It looked like he had done the same to reports written by Officer Mingyun and Officer Yunyan. I shook my head, put them away, and opened the red folder. After they had taken Lieutenant King into custody, I had read everything in the folder multiple times. I had learned that Lieutenant King had been the only surviving member of the old Unit 2. The files in the folder had records of the details of Operation White Bay, which had been initiated by the previous police major. They also include every mission that Unit 2 had been involved with. Every mission had been except the last one, codenamed W620. It was during that mission that almost the entire unit had been taken out. Lieutenant King must have been reading these files as a memorial to his former colleagues. I still remember him crying when I saw him looking at the documents. I could also remember Officer Mingyun telling me awkward military jokes while he was reading an encyclopedia of firearms. It was almost like everything had only happened just yesterday. I fought so hard to be a proud member of Unit 4. I thought I would have a chance to spar with Lieutenant King every once in a while. I thought I would be listening to Officer Ming Ying's war stories, telling me of events that had happened not happened a long time ago on some distant island. I thought that one day I would be fighting side by side with the three of them, all in the name of justice. It had never occurred to me that that day would never come. It had been 3 days since Officer Min Yoon was murdered. I heard that they had found an unregistered Glock 43 in Lieutenant Kang's home. They had also found his fingerprints on the gun, and the barrel matched with the rifling twist patterns that was found on the bullet inside Officer Min Yoon's body. The time of death had been determined to be noon of the day that we found his body. It happened to be the time when we finally finished taking a drug dealer's statement, and Lieutenant King had left the station a little while earlier. However, Lieutenant King had offered no alibi for himself. How could Lieutenant King have possibly done something like this? There must have been something he couldn't reveal. If only I could find out where he had been during that time. So far, that was all the information that I had learned about the case. I had tried seeking out Lieutenant Kim multiple times, expressing my wish to help out as much as I could with the case. Although I knew that being a member of Lieutenant Kang's unit as well as a teammate of Officer Min Yoon, I didn't have any right to be included. But as long as I could help Lieutenant King, I was willing to do anything no matter what. However, Lieutenant Kim had only handed me all of the inconsequential chores of Unit 3. He wouldn't even tell me where Lieutenant King was being held. I was afraid that as far as they were concerned, still allowing me to come to the station was already special treatment for me. I couldn't wait any longer. I had made a decision. I was typing on the keyboard while peeking at the makeup mirror on Officer Jing Yeon's desk. I saw through the mirror that someone from Unit 3 had just entered a 4-digit passcode to open their safe. In the Criminal Investigations Division, every unit had their own safe to temporarily keep classified documents. As Lieutenant's case was still under investigation, there must be relevant documents inside Unit 3's safe. Stealing classified documents would be something that was beyond rule breaking. If I got caught, I didn't even know what kind of punishment would be waiting for me. As soon as I remembered Officer Min Yoon's death and Lieutenant King being framed, I knew it was something I had to do. This would be my justice. 7 p.m. The last person in Unit 3's office wing, Lieutenant Kim, had finally left. I stayed in my seat and kept typing on my keyboard for another 5 minutes. I didn't stop until I made sure the entire floor had no other people, and then I walked over to the safe of Unit 3. There was a basket of candies on top of the safe. I opened the door. There was nothing inside. There was nothing in the safe. Lieutenant Kim had opened the safe earlier before he left. Maybe he had taken everything inside with him? I went back to my seat, defeated. What else could I do to help Lieutenant King? Who else could help me now? Oh, right, I should go and see Officer Jing Yeon. I hurried to the officer, but I didn't get to see her. The nurse told me she had checked out and left the hospital earlier that day, but I didn't have a phone number to contact her. Damn it. There was nothing else I could do? Please, Buddha, please guide me. What should I do? Oh, we got another achievement. Hey, the clock changed colors too. That's cool. I felt a big hand pat my back. Hey, kid, what are you doing over there? I had heard footsteps coming towards me, so I stood straight in front of the safe. I pretended that I had been trying to get some candy from the basket. You had given me too much work, so I wanted to take some candy and relax a little. Haha, sure. How about we go take a bath? It should be more relaxing. It was already after hours. The spa in the station was quite crowded. Lieutenant Kim was soon chatting and laughing with the other people that were hanging around. I stayed in the corner of the spa and didn't join the others. I remember the time when I was in a spa with Lieutenant King. Maybe it was because of the scene from the spa, but I felt my eyes watering up. Get away from there, there's a bomb. Zuko screamed and ran towards me. He reached his hand out, trying to pull me away from the door that I just opened. But I caught a glimpse of a box on the floor of the empty arsenal, and then, boom, the box morphed into an engulfing flame and swallowed me without the door in its way. Excuse me. Zuko wasn't in the arsenal, nor was he in the apartment. Somewhere on the street, I heard what sounded like an explosion. I ran downstairs and heard people screaming and crying in agony. There were injured people everywhere I looked. The source of all the suffering was a small square that had been wiped out. The food court that sold beef balls were all gone. A dark radial scorch mark was left on the concrete in the middle of the square, but in the center of the darkness there was nothing. There was nothing left. Okay, so we have to get better ending. Okay, we'll just look this up. What you Murren's about? What? Okay, so it should be... There was nothing inside, and I didn't notice. There was someone behind me. Before I even tried to enter a passcode, the door to the safe opened by itself. There was nothing but a note inside. It read, "Mind your own business." I went back to my seat, defeated. What else could I do to help Lieutenant King? Who else could help me now? Oh, right, I should go see Officer... Stop that. I hurried to the hospital, but didn't see her. The nurse told me she had checked out and left the hospital earlier that day, but I didn't have a phone number to contact her. Damn it, there was nothing else I could do. Please, Buddha, guide me. What should I do? Stop it. You're fine. Zuko grabbed me from behind and dragged me away from the door. Boom. An enormous force blew the door off its hinges, twisted it, and tore it into a million burning pieces that were flying towards us. Zuko blocked most of the debris for me. His body was becoming almost unrecognizable. He was holding my hand so tightly when he died. Zuko was gone. There was no funeral. A couple of his body handlers took care of everything. During the night of the full moon a few days later, I opened my fist, examined my palm under the moonlight. Zuko had given me one last present. He had been hiding it in his hand before stuffing it into mine when he died. It was a small metal part that he'd taken off the baseball boy's bomb. Okay, cool. So now we should be able to do Carlos's story, and then we can fix Chang's story. But I think I'm gonna call it here. Yeah, I think we're gonna call it here. Oh, well, let's save first, and then mess around with this new new ending thing. We'll do Jimmy's. What does this do? If I change this, do I have to get all the endings to change it? I don't understand this. Okay, here, we'll change, whoops, back, I did not. No idea what this does. But we finished, oh no, who did we finish? I thought, who's, I don't know. Maybe it was, the teachers we finished, and that was it. I thought it said, Alicia, though. Oh, wow. She does have a big bounty on her head. Well, okay. Well, I'll figure out what this, new, system thing's for. And we might mess around with it next time, but if not, we'll just keep going with Carlos's story and Park. But I will see you all next week. I definitely will stream on Halloween. So I will see you all Tuesday. Have a good day. Bye.